but it broke the twine. It broke the twine, and what I'm doing is I am rethreading the twine.
And so your point is you're always monitoring the moisture content, correct?
Moisture content, just like right here. I got it right on the screen right here, 14. Once it hits the maturity, we go out there with a hay bind and cut the hay down. Then we got a tedder so that the hay bind will cut it down and put it in a windrow. Okay. Okay, put it going. How much the grass actually grew last night.
Okay.
You can see the green, this fresh green from that rain last night.
Wow.
It came up. When I say a win-win, is right there, I got one field. I just got beat up on the rain with baling the hay, right?
Okay, here we are today up in northern Minnesota, and they sell hay. So we're gonna meet the owner today. That's Troy Salmen, and he's gonna tell us a little bit about what it's like to be a hay farmer. All right, Troy.
Man, nothing
You're
but
on
pure,
camera, man.
Nothing but pure excitement.
What are you doing right there?
Whoa, right there, we were just testing the moisture and wishing that it was, there's low. You jab it in, so 14, 14.5. If it was all right there, you can watch it. My probe is changing as it's moving there.
Okay. What
15.
number do you want it to be?
Right there, 14, but if I start getting too much, see how we hit a 15, 15.3, I'm not too nervous. But now if we start getting 16, 17, then we gotta stop. But in the meantime, we gotta set this down, the baler's busted, and I gotta figure out how to run this thing. So don't go telling nobody, but normally my kids are the ones running this. And you got that JB or that WD-40? I should know how to run it because it's my baler. I've had it for I don't know how many years, and I never run the thing. But now my kids all, they're doing other stuff, so I gotta learn how to run it. And as you can see right here, the twine is busted. And I think it's busted because I got too much tension over here, or bad twine, or it's actually the hay is a little bit tough. When the hay is tough, puts too much pressure on the twine. I should have a stronger twine, or just get everything drier. But we're kind of, as you can see, we're chasing thunderstorms.
Yeah.
And hoping for a little drier weather. We're pushing limits. Maybe we're pushing them a hair bit too far, but we'll find out.
Yeah.
We put the bed out when we cut the hay. Now we're laying the cards on the table and we're gonna see what happens.
Yeah.
We're either gonna hurt bad because we bale it too wet and it's all gonna rot and mold and be garbage, or we're gonna laugh our fool heads off if it happens to succeed.
Gotcha. So why is it important about the, you're testing the moisture content in your bale, correct?
Yep, we're testing the moisture. If there's too much moisture, it'll cause it to rot, it'll mold. If you get it exactly, if you get the moisture exactly right, you'll get zero mold.
Okay.
It'll be all clear. Mold is not good for cattle, not good for anything. And different moistures will cause it to mold to different levels.
Yeah.
We are running preservative on it.
Yep.
We are running preservative to help let us run the moisture higher.
Okay. So with the hay business, right?
Yep.
You're always looking at the weather. You were telling me earlier about
Constantly.
that. And what is the concern with the weather? Knowing when to cut the hay, right?
It takes so much drying time to get the hay dry.
So you got to cut it.
I should have about
the hay needs to lay down and then it needs to dry, right?
You cut it, you let it lay, you let it dry. Once it's dry, then you bale.
Yep.
And humidity, the sun, the wind, the temperature, everything has to do with how it's going to dry, how wet the ground is.
Yep.
If the ground is too wet, you got moisture not only coming from the sky, but coming from the ground, working up on the bottom end of the windrow.
Yep.
And it'll get the hay wet from the bottom side. And we've had an extremely wet spring. We're fighting that like crazy with moisture coming up from the ground.
Yeah.
But it's the game we play. It's what we do. We deal with it. This hay, the rake is already gone, so you can't see it.
Right. And the reason why you're working so fast is because you're concerned it's going to rain again before you can bale, right?
It is supposed to be raining in about 3 hours right now. I just got a call. I have another baler up in Park Rapids, which is about 25 miles away, 30 miles away, baling. Since the rain is coming close and we're struggling with moisture, I got another baler coming down here, which we just got the call that they just blew a belt out on the motor. So thankfully my dad was willing to take off and go and put a new belt on that tractor. Hopefully that baler can keep on coming to help me out, because the other baler I think is starting to catch up with the rake on that end.
All right, so what's going on underneath here?
Right now, since the twine broke, we had so much pressure on the twine since we're pushing the limits, and I may not even be able to bale, but it broke the twine. It broke the twine, and what I'm doing is I am rethreading the twine and getting it ready to go for another round. And we're gonna cross our fingers and hope like crazy that we can make it, that it'll be dry enough that it'll keep on going. Come on, we gotta get in the tractor and roll.
All right, now we're jumping in the tractor. So this is the life of a hay farmer, where they're always fighting the weather. We shut this door?
Yep.
Okay.
So this switch right here that I'm turning on right there, that turns the preservative up on, that's up on top. There's the box on top.
Yep.
There's powder that's going in from there and going on to the hay, and that will help preserve the hay. It just helps us push that window a few more percent, but I'm begging for every percent I can today.
Yeah. And so your point is you're always monitoring the moisture content, correct?
Moisture content, just like right here. I got it right on the screen right here, 14.7, but see right there, we hit some slugs of high. Okay. That's a big concern. That was a small slug that went through, that hit the moisture tester in my baler, but there's a bunch of them. Yeah. And that's a big deal. That's a big deal. It's holding up there on that tester a little more, just as it smears on there, and it'll pop back off there. I don't believe it's, see there we're back down to 14.9, 14.8. Yeah. If we can run at 14.8, 14.9, I'm doing her. Yep. And I don't know, maybe I'm nuts, maybe I'll pay the price, but looking at the storm clouds, looking at the radar, we got issues coming anyway, so we're gonna try.
And how much hay, how many acres of hay do you have cut right now?
Right now we're at 270 acres on the ground, which on good going is about right around 10 hours of baling. I got 3 hours left to go. There's not a chance in the world I'm even going to get close to getting it all done, but we're going for everything we can.
Yeah, and the point is you've got what, thousands of dollars here in the field.
Right now, if we had to take a wild stab at all of it on the ground right now, it's probably about 80 grand.
About $80,000.
About 80,000. That if it rains and keeps raining, you lose all of it. Right. Granted, I don't think I'm going to lose all of it. We have ways to work on it, dry it back out. It's possible to lose all of it, but you will take a serious deduct at best if I don't beat this rain. Yeah. So it's just the name of the game in the farm and hay, and we could go to Las Vegas and bet a lot less.
Yeah, have a lot less at stake, right?
Have a lot less at stake, but I guess we'd do it because we enjoy it. A little bit of stress is good for everybody. Yep. Or so we think. So we're just gonna double check everything here. Check our moistures once again. One good thing is, well, you can kind of feel it on the side. It's not showing a smear. Oh, it's showing temp. I got it set on temperature.
Yep. So what number do you want to see on
Well,
there?
right now, I would like to be seeing 11s, 12s, 13s. Yeah, it ain't looking good, but I think we're taking our chances. We're feeling risky today.
Feeling risky. So Troy, how did you get into the hay business?
Well, I don't even know for sure how I got into the hay business. I guess I grown up farming all my life. Then I went into the dairy world. In the dairy world, we raised hay, obviously, for our own cattle. But just being kind of the way it is I grew twice as much hay every year as what I actually needed.
Okay.
So every year I always just kind of sold out of my supply and not really doing it as a cash crop, but running that much ground in case of a drought, in case of disaster. One thing I didn't ever want to happen was to actually run out of product. Yeah. And I got to sit there and worry about that. You know what am I going to feed my cattle? So I always had overrun. Many years I'd maybe have a complete year of overrun on hand when I started a new crop. Well, as time went on, I sold more and more hay, obviously. And I enjoyed the hay, I enjoyed the cattle, but I enjoyed the crops more than the cattle. And when we started in the dairy world, I told my wife, if it ever gets to where I got to take government money to make a living running cattle, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
Well, the same day that I was looking to actually go a third my herd bigger, I got a call from a buddy and he asked me, are you signing up for the new government program? Well, he knew I didn't sign up for government programs. I figured, well, what do you mean? What do you got going on? So he told me. So I dealt with a lot with contracting my milk, dealing with brokers. I called the brokers, called the bankers, called the people in the business, in the industry, to ask them what they thought about what this program was that we got coming down the pipe. By the end of the day, I told my wife, I said, you know what? This morning we were buying cattle, tonight we're selling cattle. So I went back out and I walked my silage pile. That was the product that was the least sellable. I counted it out, looked how much crop I had, and told the wife 14 months from now we're selling the cows. Wow. So that was the start of starting to debate on what are we going to do. We are changing the careers, we're doing something different, and
just to jump in here. So you had a full-fledged dairy operation.
Yep.
Right, a family farm milking cows.
Yep.
A dairy farmer.
Yep.
So what was that moment like when because that's what you had spent all your time doing, right? Was dairy farming. You had put all your energy, your passion into that. So how hard of a decision was it for you to go basically say, I'm going to be done without having a plan of what you're going to do next?
Well, it couldn't have been too hard of a decision because it was done in one day. That decision, I made my mind up from the time in the morning, from whatever. Usually I'm making my phone calls at breakfast time. So say 9 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock in the morning, I'm making phone calls. Noon, somewhere in the middle of the afternoon, I'd already connected with these guys about what we got coming down the pipe. By that evening, my mind is already done. We were selling the cows. Is what it is. That was it. It was that decision had already been made at the time when I told my wife I was not taking government check to run my business.
Gotcha.
So when that came, that the writing was on the wall that if you did not take government checks, you're going to be behind the 8 ball. You're going to struggle. I could see it. I was positive, and looking back, I believe it to be true that was the right decision. Yeah. Well, at that time, when it was just like, you know what, hay it just fell into my place, because I had the ground. I had 14 months to do the transition. I didn't grow silage that year. I planted everything into hay. That gave me 1 year to get everything transitioned. I had the equipment. I had the knowledge. I already dealt with getting the best of the best hay crop because I did that for my cattle. Yeah. So it fell naturally into my spot. It was all there. So when I look back at it and I think about it, I use everything, almost everything that I had, that I put all my sweat and equity into building my dairy farm. I still use that in the hay world, other than the cattle, a few things in the dairy facility. But most of the dairy facility is still used as storage or something, dealing with my hay business. Yeah. So I don't feel that I went backwards making that decision. I'm glad we did it. There's been stress, just like today, the stress level, it's high. It's running, it's gunning. I've often told my wife that, why in the world did I do this? Why do we want to run so much stress? Well, when things calm down, first thing I tell Mom, we got to do something else. There ain't enough excitement here. We got to change what we're doing. We got to add to this. So I don't know. I guess maybe stress is fun. something like that anyway. So.
Yeah, you like the chaos, even though at times it's stressful.
At times you wonder, but you know, it just keeps on coming. I keep on doing it, and I am planning on quitting.
So, and then one thing for those that don't know, you've got a large family, and one thing I've always respected is that you incorporate your kids into your business. Right. So right now, who's running that tractor over there?
Right there, that's Emily, and she is, I should know, but I believe I think she's 13 years old. Yep. She's running that tractor. I have another 17-year-old running a baler. I got a 15-year-old running another baler right now, and I got a 10-year-old running a rake right now. And my wife and all my kids are actually out at the field with my kids out at the other field, making sure everything is going. And thank goodness my wife is willing to, at the drop of a hat, she'll take off this way, that way, whichever way I happen to need her to go. Yeah. And she's gone to the races. Right. And yeah, she gets stressed out, but I think she actually enjoys it the same as I enjoy it. And yeah, it's a good deal. Yeah. I love being able to work with her and the kids. Yeah. But being at that, like Emily up there, you can see she either ran into something. This is her first day running that rake. That rake is kind of it's a real treat to run. It's a tough one. It's not easy. It's fussy, and we got problems. So yeah, so you got to stop. I got to stop and help her. But as you can see, she's trying to fix that problem herself. She's never dealt with that rake, but she can see she's got a problem. She's digging in to try to get that thing taken care of. How's it going, Emily?
Pretty good.
Pretty good?
I'd take the wheel rake over this thing any day.
You'd take that wheel rake over this thing any day?
Yeah.
Oh.
So Troy, where are we going now? We're going, you said, to get some preservative?
We're heading back to the farm to get some preservative. When Dad took off, when I sent him off with my pickup, I wasn't thinking, I didn't grab no bags out of there. You gotta acquire the land, then you plant it, you till the land, plant the seed out there, deciding whether you're gonna do alfalfa, grass, what product you're gonna grow out there. Mm-hmm. Then after you plant it, fertilize it. When it grows to the right maturity, and the maturity is all decided on what market you're going to put in. The dairy market, you're going to cut it at an early maturity stage. Beef market, it's going to be different. Horse market, it all changes by where you're going to try to sell it. Yeah. Once it hits the maturity, we go out there with a hay bind and we cut the hay down. Then we got a tedder, so that the hay bind will cut it down and put it in a windrow. Then we come behind the hay bind with a tedder, which takes the windrow, spreads it all the way out. So it's all fluffed out, spread out across the field. And the reason we do that is the more the sun hits the hay, the faster it dries. And obviously, we're up against the clock. We're against the clock. It seems like it don't matter what we do, we're up against the clock. Whether we're fertilizing, planting, cutting, we're always up against the clock. It's a stopwatch, always going. It's kind of like I told Johnny. It's how our lifestyle is like, we always have a stick of dynamite, the fuse is always lit, we just don't know when it's gonna bang. So that's just where we're at. But so we ted the hay out, and sometimes, depending on the weather, we might ted it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, depending on what happens. If it rains, we ted it again, keep getting it. After we deem that it's all right, it's ready, that we're close enough to dry enough, we're gonna bale this, then we rake it up, bale it, either with the big square baler, that's what we were running, or the round baler. Otherwise, we'll do small squares, but we normally won't do small squares out in the field. Some of the hay is dry hay, some is baleage. Baleage we can take at a high moisture, but that's a harder market to hit. Okay. I love doing baleage. It's fast, easy, stress-free. Yeah. But it's a hard product to market, or it's a very small market out there. Okay. And once you bale it, you got to go complete. It's got to get baled, wrapped, done. There's no stopping. Once you start, it's you go till it's a done product. Okay. Okay. Okay, put it on. Okay. Let's go.
So Troy, what does that stuff do again?
This here is preservatives. It helps to keep the mold from starting to grow. It neutralizes it and just stabilizes the moisture. That way it doesn't grow.
Troy, how many times has this been plugged up?
Man, I don't know for sure, but too many. That's what happens when you got a rookie running it.
Yeah,
Boys would probably just, Adrian, he'd probably have this thing just whistling Dixie.
Troy was saying he doesn't run this baler very often, so that's why he's getting it all plugged up. All right, Troy, tell us again why you got into the hay business.
For the pure pleasure and excitement. Pure pleasure and excitement. It's a slow pace, easy way to make a living. To my mind, I hope I'll never forget the guys. He said, you can't have any weak links. No weak links.
Yep.
You are only as good as your weakest link.
Yep.
It don't matter if you make this part of it extremely good. If you got a weak link somewhere else, that part will not get its max.
Yeah.
So I would say that there is probably the thing that keeps coming to mind. That where do you find your weak link?
Yeah.
It's always a hard question to answer. Which link is the weakest? Because I got a lot of weak ones, but which is the weakest? Which one's that weakest link? I'll get into trouble. The first thing I do is I ask Mama. First things first, you ask Mama. Because there's one thing, if Mama ain't on board, don't pay to start.
Yep.
I think it's probably sometimes hard on the family, even just, they know, just like a day like today, you know, what this hay is worth.
Yep.
They know what it means if we fail, which sometimes I don't know if a kid should have to feel that pressure, but it just happens that they know what it is. They know what's going on.
Yep. Okay, Troy, it's day 2.
So this here is what the race was all about when we were running for the dry. Now it's wet. Thankfully, it's not 100% wet. It's wet, but not quite damaged wet. You can still see some light color in there.
Yeah, and that's because, so what time did you end up quitting work yesterday?
Last night we probably quit baling about 8, right around 8, 9 o'clock. Finally the dew came on. It made us quit. The moisture went up too high in the field.
Right,
Ended up quitting. And then last night it rained about 1 inch.
Yeah, it rained quite heavy
poured.
yesterday.
It rained about 1 inch last night. So if you look at the field, I don't know if you can see it without really knowing how much the grass actually grew last night.
Okay.
You can see the green, this fresh green from that rain last night.
Wow.
It came up already this morning. Like you look at this windrow right here. This was not coming through the windrow last night.
Right. Yeah, look at that.
That was not coming through last night. Where now that's coming through. So what we're going to battle, A, we're going to battle a couple things. Getting this hay to dry. B, when we move this to try bale, we're going to be picking up new grass that is completely wet. And that is going to raise havoc. So if we take that, it looks good on this side.
Yeah.
But now you feel it, it's soaking on that side.
It's soaking wet, yeah.
And if you smell it, you can smell an offset.
Yeah.
It's done that much just through the night.
So what do you do then?
So now what we got to do, and what we're checking right now is you look right here. Here's a spot that you can see right here. See how it smears like that? That's what we're concerned of. That smearing, that tracking. I got to be able to come in here with a tractor and a tedder, and we're going to fluff this up. We're going to take this whole product, basically throw it up in the air. We're going to have a machine that's going to take this product and do that. Other than it'll shred it out better. It'll look more like that, and re-fluff it. Shake the water off, get the air back underneath, where right now it's pushing it down into the ground. You can see right here, it's pushed her down. We got enough, it pushed her right down.
Right.
And that will mold if we don't get that up. So we're gonna end up going through this field, all the ground that we got on the ground right now, we're gonna go through with the tedder, ted it up, hope and pray for sunshine.
Yeah.
You always gotta be dealing with a win-win situation. When I say a win-win, is right there, I got one field, I just got beat up on the rain with baling the hay, right?
Right.
But now we look at this field. This field we got done, and we just fertilized this field. Now this field is dark green. This color looks good. I like the look of this field right now. Well, that field we just fertilized. Once you fertilize, if it does not rain, I lose the fertilizer. If it did not rain last night, I may have lost this field. So I got it. There's only one way you can stay in this is you always got to look at it as a win-win. You can't look at it as losing. You look at it as a win-win.
Gotcha.
If it rains, I win on this field. If the sun shines, I win on this field. So one of them I'm going to win. That's the only way you keep going and enjoying what you're doing. It's got to be a win-win deal. Positive. You don't look at the positive, you might as well just throw it.
You ain't gonna make it in the hay business.
If you don't look at the positives, you're not going to make it in business.
Yeah. Right.
If the guy, you can always talk about, are there failures? Well, I choose not to look at it as a failure, just another challenge. There's days that you're thinking kind of like it's a failure, but if you let that doom and gloom pull on you, you are going to be done.
Yeah.